first story was posted 2 years ago by a Reddit user named Sleepy Lee. I lived in the LES at the time and would take the East Broadway F train. Pulling into the station southbound one day, and I'm at the very front of the train because the doors opened up to the stairs directly. I was watching us pull in through the front conductor's booth window when I saw some dude either jump or stumble directly in front of the train. Saw, heard, and felt the impact. We get out and everyone behind us is confused. I peered in between the platform and the train and looked right at the dude. Guy was groaning. He never once opened his eyes. I kept trying to talk to him and ask if he was okay, and all he did was groan. I saw the conductor come out and he initially looked pissed, but as soon as the passenger put their hand on his shoulder, he started crying and sat on the steps of the stairs. Someone yelled to call 911. I kept trying to talk to the guy, figured it wasn't helping because he couldn't hear me or something. So I hopped down onto the tracks and duck walked my way towards him because I was young, I was stupid, and I thought I could help. I did not and could not help. This dude's torso was straight caught under the wheels of the train, pretty much cut him in half, and the pressure of the train was what was probably keeping him alive. I remember I had to disassociate real quick and ask him if he was okay. He gave me the same response as he did when I was on the platform, so me being 18 inches away instead of 72 made zero difference. I remember I kept thinking how dirty the spot was, how he seemed drunk. If EMS didn't clean up well, the rats were gonna eat good, and I was probably in the way if EMS had to make their way towards him. I asked him if he had anyone to call, got no real answer. Told him to hang tight and help was on the way, and then shuffled my way back out. Saw the conductor crying again, saw EMS coming down and told them exactly where the guy was and how they had to get onto the tracks to get to him. Went home after that and washed out my hands and arms, and then made soup. Second story was posted 2 years ago by a Reddit user named 121 Gigawatts. I was on the F in Brooklyn once, in a car all by myself. It was a bright and sunny day, early afternoon, and we were rolling through a string of above-ground stops. Everything seemed totally normal. Then, a young guy in his early 20s walked into the car when we reached the next stop and sat directly across from me. It seemed like a slightly odd choice, considering the entire car was empty, but I didn't really think much of it. When the train started moving again, he reached into his backpack and pulled a razor blade out of the pocket. He then proceeded to carve into his forehead with it, staring me directly in the eyes with an enormous grin on his face as blood ran down his forehead and hands. I promptly left the train the second we arrived at the next station and was left with the worst thing I've ever seen burned into my brain for eternity. Third story was posted 7 years ago by a Reddit user named Life is Strange, Me Too. This story is a retelling of something that happened to me when I was 7 years old. As the years have gone by and I've grown up, I've realized that the story cannot possibly be true, yet I can't shake the feeling that it is. It happened in Tokyo, in the subway station. I was standing with my father when I saw the demon, a monstrously tall and furry creature with leathery black wings and a snout like an anteater. I must have stared at him for close to 10 minutes before he finally spoke in a soft mutter that was clearly intended for his ears only. "This human is creeping me out," he said. "It almost looks like he's looking right at me." "I am looking right at you," I said. The demon nearly jumped out of his skin. "You can see me?" he asked. "Yes, can't everybody?" "Not unless they're in the 5th dimension," he answered. "Am I in the 5th dimension?" I asked. "Your mind must have slipped over here by mistake. What were you thinking about before you saw me?" I thought for a moment and then grinned. Trains. Oh, well, trains are the link between our dimensions. I guess your mind must have wandered over here. Either that or you're going crazy. I hope I'm not going crazy, I said. Being crazy is a good thing in the fifth dimension, the demon replied. I laughed. Do you have subway lines in the fifth dimension? I asked. Of course, he said. How else would we get to work? You've got wings, I said. Yes, but who wants to fly? Taking the train is so much faster, and if I fly to work, I'm all sweaty when I get there. So what do you use your wings for? I asked. I put them over my head when it rains. Can I see? I asked. Sure, the demon said. My hair blew back as he swept his enormous wings over his head. I laughed again. You're funny, I said. The demon laughed too, but then his expression changed. Are you okay? I asked. You seem sad. Yes, the demon replied, not looking at me, but at something behind me. Say, would you like to see a magic trick? Okay. The demon reached up and tugged a big yellow handkerchief out of his snout. He must have pulled out 20 feet before he ran out. That's funny. I laughed, but I stopped when I realized I wasn't holding my dad's hand anymore. I looked around and saw the subway station had disappeared, replaced by flowing green meadows that were full of old trains. I can't see the subway station anymore, I said. That's okay, said the demon. Sometimes it's better to see what isn't there instead of what is. What do you mean? Sometimes when I'm bored or sad, my mind slips off to the third dimension, and I see people like you. That's funny, I laughed. Can you go to other dimensions too? But the demon didn't answer. He was looking up at the sky. It's starting to rain, he said, whooshing his wings up over his head. Warm droplets of rain hit my face. Can I get under your wings with you? I asked. Not now, he replied. You've got to go home. The world began to shimmer and flow together, like different shades of green and golden paint, spinning around faster and faster in circles. I started to feel a little sick, and I closed my eyes. The world stopped spinning, but warm droplets of water still fell on my face. I opened my eyes and saw my mom crying over me, but I didn't see my dad. Where's Dad? I asked her. Did he bring me home? Yes, darling, she said, although she didn't look at me when she said it. He brought you home and then he had to go away. Oh, I replied. When will he be back? I don't know, she said. My dad never came back, and it was years before I found out the truth. He had killed himself that day. That morning, he had written a note to my mother explaining that he intended to bring me along and step in front of the train with me. My mother found it when she got home from work and called the police, but it was too late to stop my father. The witnesses say that just before he jumped, he pulled away from his hand and ran off, fainting right after. But one of the witnesses, a little boy around my age, said that he saw something take my hand and lead me away from the speeding train. He said it was a monstrously tall and furry creature with leathery black wings and an anteater's snout.